Hi everyone, this is Natasha. I want to share with you my sour cherry bounce containers. I may have mentioned this before, but for the holidays I make a sour cherry bounce, which essentially is sour cherries from the farmers in South Glastonbury, which are only available for a brief time in June, and vodka, simple syrup, and a little bit of lemon juice. That's it. So what we've been doing is we've been recycling these little individual size wine bottles, which were washed in the dishwasher and with the caps and everything, so everything's been sanitized. And then I make a large batch of the simple syrup and vodka and lemon juice, and then Polly stuffed all of the little sour cherries through the neck of the bottles, and I think we had 28 bottles this year. So to make the little labels, I used, let me show you what I used. I used the Spellbinders frame abilities, and this is called Cherry Pickin' with no G. There you go. And it's S5021 right there, in case you're wondering. And I think this is in many places on the markdown, especially since it's the summer kind of item. But works out perfectly because the die is large enough to cut, and I used white cardstock to cut and go around the bottle perfectly. So I peeled the original labels off. I don't even care if they're not tacky, it just looks a little, I might clean them up just a little bit. And I created little 2.5 by 3-inch squares printed on my computer, just saying Natasha's Cherry Bounce. There you go. And then what it contains, and then this year. And I make a fresh label every year. And I hear a chihuahua approaching. She's been annoying all day today. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the weather. And then I made a tiny little label that says "Keep me cold and away from kids," with one of the little itty bitty little cherries. And I'm gonna put one together for you, and I have 28. Obviously I've been busy making them, but let me show you how one comes together. So what I did is I pre-cut the paper, the cardstock, and this is just the Staples cover stock that I use, to 4.5 by 4.5 squares, and then I cut them in, embossed them. See the relief of the little cherries? So I did that initially. Then I take each of the little cutouts and I put them back into, and they'll only go in one direction. There's only one correct way to fit them. I put them back into the frame, put that down, and then using Festive Berries Distress Ink dauber, and I probably have enough left to start to show you, I just dab through on the raised areas. And I learned the hard way, you cannot rub on this because there's enough sharp elements to this die cut, or to this metal plate, that it'll tear up your little dauber surface. So it is definitely best to just daub. I will give you a cautionary tale. One, I tried using the, I had it right near me. I used the Distress Stain in the same Festive Berries. Does not work with this technique. What it does is there's such a saturation of the liquid that the porous paper soaks it in, and you completely lose the definition of the image you're trying to highlight like this. So ink works better than the Distress Stain. Distress Stain just looked like it had bled all over the place. It's also the color, as you can see. I haven't cut myself, it's just the ink. So that's what it comes out looking like. I'm going to put this aside. I'll finish that one another time, so I just want to make sure my work surface is clean. I'm going to take one of the labels, and I have a naked bottle. Just move that around a little bit so I have room for my elbows. So I'm going to attach it below this frame. Now the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my brand spanking new 1/2 inch ATG, and I'm going to go around the back side and it is super sticky. There was no issues whatsoever adhering to myself or the glass, which is helpful to know. So I just want to make sure I have, see how sticky that is? I have sufficient amount to adhere. So I'm going to place the label, and to make it easier for myself to cut, I did create borders on my printer, so it was just easier to make sure that I had the image where I needed it. And I'm just going to place it over, making sure that I don't get any borders. And I'm going to tap it down just a little bit because I don't want it to stick to my desk surface. And now all I'm going to do is get a couple more strips of the... This is why the 1/2" tape I was quite happy with, because it gives you a really nice coverage. Let's see. There you go. You could see the strips right there. So now I'm just going to place my bottle, and I know that the size of this, I have to have the bottom... Ooh, so sorry. Focus. I have to have the bottom of the tip straight, like as far down as possible. And I'm just going to wrap. And that's it. It stays on pretty nicely. And then for the label, I'm just using these, I'm going to move this aside, using these little tags that I've been offering on my blog. And the funny thing is this one, I cut out the little cherry and the leaf out of this, so I'm using that as a relief. So I'm not putting the actual cherry die on there. I'm just going to write the note. Keep me cold and away from kids. And the little threaded loops are just enough to place twice around the neck, completely by accident. This was all circumstantial, so I'm just gonna toggle it down, or I could leave it at the top like that. So there you go. So these are going into boxes today. I have a lot of shipping to do. The only other thing that I used is peel paint on the little leaf for this particular label. Hopefully it'll focus. I don't know why I think it's tired. I've overworked it. So there it is. There's one with a little label with the cherries, and there's one with a label that has the cherry negative. And this is really, really yummy. It's good as a little shot or an aperitif after dinner, or on top of vanilla ice cream for adults. Adults only. And they're all pitted. There's no pits in these cherries. So there you go. If you have any questions about any of the products that I used, I'll take some photographs. I'll post them on my blog along with a full list of all of the products that I used. I did use a gel pen. It's the only thing I might not have shown. And for the little cherries, I used these tiny little pop dots, which I poke out with my little poking tool, which I think I've done as a little tip. So there you go. I've already done 8, and oh, I have 20 more to go. So that's what I'll be working on throughout the day today. And for those of you who are wondering, if you who may have seen my post on Facebook, the cards for Sandy Hook Elementary, there's a P.O. Box address, which I'll include in the description below as well. Anyone who wants to send cards to the families, teachers, or the first responders are welcome to do so to that P.O. Box that's been set up at the Newtown Post Office. Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to love your friends and family.